Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast. Today, we're joined by Rao Tadepalli, CEO and founder of DigiTran. Rao, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matthew. And love to be here. We appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's great having you. Thanks for joining us. And before we get too far in, a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by cyberlynx.com. That's cyber, Lynx.com. Do you know if a hacker's in your system? Most people and most companies don't until it's too late and the hacker's already done damage. A hacker's job is to bypass your security, so companies need a way of knowing when someone's gotten past theirs. That's where CyberLynx comes in. We've partnered with the best cybersecurity companies in the world to be able to provide our clients with the best solutions at the best prices. So whether it's managed SIM, SOC, EDR, MDR, XDR, you name it, we'll help you find the best solution at the best price. Find out more at cyberlynx.com. That's cyber, Lynx.com. And now back to our show. Rao, for those who aren't familiar, can you tell us about DigiTran?
Yes. Yeah, DigiTran stands for digital transformation, specializing on providing transformation from legacy systems and core systems to digital transformation to financial services with more focus on the insurance sector. But of late, we have been doing a lot more on the AI, how AI can help insurance carriers, agents, and all through all the different use cases and all. We hear so much about the AI, but definitely it's a expertise and advisory services and support we provide to insuretechs in addition to the insurance carriers in terms of really what are the pain points within the insurance industry and through the value chain, where exactly the opportunities for insuretechs to excel and really kind of provide the service for the benefit of both the carriers, agents, and the policyholders.
I love it. Now, you spent a lot of time in the insurance industry and you're just transitioning. You're in the transition phase now, right? From CIO at Slide. And so you've got a lot of experience there in the insurance industry. Where do you see, to take us through some of the really cool use cases of AI in the insurance industry?
Oh, absolutely. There are many use cases. The first and foremost, what I can think about it is on the claims handling. Claims, insurance is all about, from a policyholder perspective, it's the promise to pay. That means when the need arises, the policyholder expect the insurance company is there to make the necessary payment. So claims payments and the speed of handling claims is extremely important to the policyholders who are kind of paying the premium with the expectations of getting paid when they need it. So for that, using AI to streamline straightforward claims. If you think about, like, for example, in workers' comp, there's a straightforward medical claims. That means there's a paper cut and you go to, emergency and you don't really miss any work or something. That's like what I call like a slam dunk. Those are something AI can just do the slam dunk and take care of it in a very quick fashion. But then there's complex claims where somebody really working in a factory, got a machinery, breakdown or something, and they are injured and they're in the hospital, going through the physical therapy and everything after surgery. That's a complex case, So those are the things, what I call, you got to have the human in the loop, because you got to understand and be empathetic to those kind of people and all, So the other line of business in homeowners or auto or something, straightforward, simple claims, AI can do it. But if it is a catastrophe, that there's a hurricane and there's a massive accident or something like that in auto, again, empathy is important. So that's where you still have to have the human in the loop, But otherwise, claims is one area. Efficiencies can be improved significantly to help the policyholders in the time of the need.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was just reading how, IBM a few years ago had a kind of a very public transition with AI where they laid off 8,000 employees because of the efficiencies that they were going to have with AI. And you fast forward now, it's been, 2 or 3 years. And the interesting effect is that what's happened is they now have hired more than those 8,000 people. So the business has grown considerably because of those efficiencies. They've not replaced those same jobs. It's not like you replace, let's say, a claims, person with AI, and then you're now hiring more claims people. They've been able to expand the business, considerably, and hiring more people because of it, because of those efficiencies. Do you see stuff like that happening in insurance as well?
Absolutely. See, you're absolutely right. AI is not necessarily replacing the people. It's a different skill set. The skill set is different. So today people have to understand what AI can do. Not only automating things, but as individuals, there's a new skill set like prompting. Prompting. There's a prompt engineering. We all familiar with casual prompting, that we just kind of put a prompt on the chat GPT and all, which these days most people are doing it. But what I'm talking about is more of a framework for prompting, prompt engineering. There is classes there, so where you can do a lot more extensive thing, improve the accuracy and all those kind of things. So there's going to be a significant demand for people who are familiar with what I call the prompt engineering. Recently, during the summer, I have organized promptathon for some college students, which was very well received. So what we have done is we have invited the college students for what I call promptathon, like a hackathon, but
Yeah.
it's a promptathon, you know. And then we gave like half an hour, taught them prompting skills, prompt engineering framework, the pros and cons and everything. And after that, gave them case studies in terms of really, okay, so divide it into the groups and then say, okay, now it's a promptathon. The clock is on, and you have couple of hours to kind of do it and come back and make the presentation and all. That was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And the students really felt that they learned a lot about it and all. So that is what's happening. So the skill set that is needed as we move forward into the evolution uh, is different. So it's not going to be the jobs are going to disappear and people are not needed. No, certain jobs may be eliminated, but the new jobs will be created that require, a new skill. It's almost like, long time ago, before the all the technology became really kind of so common. If you think about the banks and all, they still used to do those manual ledgers and all those kind of things. Those people that at those counters, those teller counters were like, oh my God, what's going to happen to my job? But those were replaced by technology. But at the same time, then you have people who are sitting in front of the computer and doing things and all loan applications and all. It's a different skill set that's needed. It's the same. We go through this evolution, almost like every decade or every other decade or something like that. So now we are, there was an e-commerce, there's apps. Now it's a new evolution. But I personally not going to call this evolution. I'm going to call it a revolution, because this is going to be bigger than any of the things we have seen in the past.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think for me, I think the most interesting aspect, I think from a security standpoint, is AI when it comes to security. So for instance, I don't know if you're familiar with Darktrace, but I think they're absolutely fantastic in that they use AI for cybersecurity exactly how you'd think, right? So they started like 13 years ago, but the interesting part is that was but well before AI was a household name, right? So they were educating people about it. But now it's AI. It only makes sense with when you have AI powered security for your email. Oh, an email comes in so fast and easy for AI to be like, yeah, that's not a legitimate email, and be able to get rid of that. Whereas with the traditional methods of having rule based, it's a game of whack-a-mole where the bad guys get better at beating the rules. You're not going to get better and better at beating the AI. Like that's really, they're using AI and now they're combating it with, and now you have to use AI to combat it. Because if we don't, and it's just a matter of educating the end user, well, we lose that battle because the end user, as we know, is the weak spot. That's where everybody's coming at them, whether it's via email or other forms of social engineering. But the end user who isn't a a cybersecurity expert or even in IT who has a day job, they will never be as good as the AI, that hacker who is using AI to beat them. So you have to fight fire with fire and have AI fighting the bad guys who are using AI. And so I think it's just such a natural progression and part of the AI revolution is using AI to help the end user stay safe and do their job.
100%. I couldn't have done it better than what you are actually explaining. Is that I'm familiar with the dark trace. It's almost like more than 10 years ago. I was one of the client. So that's before the AI became AI. So I was very impressed and I use them and it's a great product. I like them. And now, of course, in the 10 years, it has evolved even to way, way better and all. But you're right. The cyber, criminals, whatever you want to call them, they're becoming more and more AI savvy. So it's becoming more and more challenging. I recall like in late May, maybe early June timeframe, there were quite a few cyber attacks on insurance companies. Quite a few of them are based in the Pennsylvania, and some of the CIOs I know them. It's very tough to deal with that, and if your system is down for a week or 2 weeks and all, the damage it can do for the bottom line of the company is kind of too much, and quite a few of them are done by the same the group of people that this thing and all, and majority of them are to social engineering. They go to the weakest link in terms of really some general common user and pretend to be that these are threat actors. That's what you call them. These threat actors pretend to be somebody within the organization, a CEO or CIO or something. I need you to do something, reset the password or something like that. So you got to have AI, but more importantly, in addition to the AI, it's the education that is extremely important. I mean, there's quite a few educational tools out there, and a lot of times, I make it mandatory for every new employee to go through that education, and then not only new employee, but every quarter or every 6 months, we have to have everybody in the company take those mandatory cyber security exam and the Q&A and things like that. They have to really. So it's a combination of the tools plus it's not one or the other. You got to have all of them to really protect yourself, because protecting the companies with all the cyber these kind of threat actors has become an extremely challenging thing, and the CIOs and all the C-level executive must be aware of these things, and the board is extremely kind of conscious about that. So the board keeps asking questions: what are we doing? What is this thing? So all those things from the past, like vulnerability scanning, all those things still need to be there. But now a new dimension is added, and it's becoming more and more challenging every day. And AI should be definitely a big tool to counter what's happening in this area.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it is a layered approach to security, right? You can't simply have one layer, or no matter how great the tool is, when it fails or somebody finds a way past it, they're in. And I think, a great example of this is the MGM hack, right? So that was great social engineering, right? Where I don't know how familiar you are with this, but I'll run through it with the, for the listeners. But MGM spends an absolute fortune on security, both physical and cyber. And when they were hacked, now what's it been, a year and a half, 2 years ago? Now it was a huge deal because they spend all this money on training and on security, and the way they got in was they were watching LinkedIn. The bad guys were watching LinkedIn for when they hired some new IT admin. That day that person popped it up, they immediately call into the help desk and say, "Hey, I was, going to log in. I forgot my password. Can you reset my password for me?" Yeah, yeah, no problem. They reset the password with them on the phone. Boom, boom, boom. Before the new admin even got set up, the bad guys were in getting everything, and that's how they got into the system. So, um, you know, how do you beat stuff like that, right? It's this, not only do you have to have the training, but they called it up IT. They're the experts, right? But you got to have procedures and protocols involved, right? So even if they spoof that guy's number, the procedure really should have been, hey, look, we don't know you. We're going to call you back on the number that's in the system. Boom. Because you can spoof a number. I mean, that's right. So you got to have the policies and procedures in place. You've got to have the right tools. You've got to have training. It's so many layers. And then to have AI involved in that to where it can be watching the network and saying, you know what, this isn't right. This person just logged in here and now they're doing all kinds of stuff. Is this right? Do you really want Jimmy doing all this? I don't think so. I'm a put Timmy in timeout and until we find out what's going on here. So I really think it's got to be this very, advanced layered approach with policies, procedures, the right tools, the right training and AI, and in as many, as in all of those layers, if possible, to help, kind of solidify those and harden them against the bad guys. But that's my take. What do you think?
100% agree with you. It's not a single layer. It had to be multi-layered kind of protection. But to add to everything you said, I also had to some of my connections that some of these cyber threat actors were actually, making some friends with the cell phone providers. I'm not going to name,
Yep.
the major cell phone providers, and they go to the shop and they have buddies working there, and they just have the cell number ported
Yep.
to their phone number. And then now all your password resets and everything is coming to yours. I mean, their cell number, which is supposed to be this email. So that kind of opens the door for them to do anything they want, because now they have somebody's cell number, who is critical in that organization. So there are many, many things that we hear, but my take on that is like sometimes you think that you covered all the bases, but still something happens. So what the mindset has to be, not only to prevent, but how do you basically, if something happens, then how fast you want to recover. Just like the disaster recovery and the BCP planning we do for catastrophes like earthquake or any of these kind of things, I think you got to have a drill. If an event like this happen, then what is our drill? How long it takes for us to recover and things like that. So I'll add to the prevention, but also mitigation and recovery to that, to be able to come back up and give tentative timeframes to the business team and the board. If an event like that happens, how soon can we get back and all? That's an answer they look for it. And it's a very difficult to come with a number. But if you do multiple drills, at least you have an idea about it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think one of the keys to success is getting the board, and the other stakeholders involved in that process, having those tabletop exercises where you go through and, hey, we came in today and all the computers were ransomed. What do we do? What do you mean? What do we do? Well, that's your job. You're supposed to have kept that from happening. Doesn't matter how we got here. What do we do? Right. So I think one, having ransomware has really helped, I think, our entire industry by making it everybody's mission. Right now, everybody realizes, oh, cybersecurity is important for everybody. It's not just a thing for IT, but something for everybody. And I think when you combine that, like you were saying, getting the board and the leadership involved in that process, that's really paramount because no matter what, you can't just do it from the IT side of the house. Everybody's got to, it affects everybody and it permeates every, aspect of the organization. So every part of the organization needs to be involved in that. Yeah.
100%. And I think the engagement is the key.
Yeah.
You got to have engagement for pretty much everybody from the top to bottom. So it has to be a mission as an organization to really protect the company from these cyber threats.
Well, I think interestingly, a lot of people when you start talking about like compliance, right? So you deal a lot with financial services and insurance, and compliance is a big thing. And I think interestingly, a lot of people take compliance to mean like, oh, I just got to check the box. Yep, we did this, we did this. You can be compliant but not safe, and you can be safe and not compliant. And the two are, have little to do with each other. They should mean if you're compliant, you're safe, but it doesn't always mean that. And I think being able to have the right culture to say, hey, you know what? We're about being safe. If we're safe, then when we do our compliance stuff, it's going to check out. So if we're safety minded, then the compliance piece we can layer in and it won't matter. If you're just like, hey, look, we're compliance minded, and you're not focused on safety, but you're like, well, we did all the right things. You may do all the right things. You may have all the right, you've checked all the right boxes. But at the end of the day, everybody's focus isn't on safety. The compliance just is, is paper thin. I mean, that's my take. But you do this all the time. I mean, this is, a part of your bread and butter. So, kind of what's your take on the whole compliance and safety thing?
You just kind of said it right. It's a mindset. You know, you got to have the safety mindset. That should be number one in my opinion. You got to protect it. You got the safety mindset. But actually, in an industry like insurance, the regulators are always kind of looking for compliance. So you still have to do the compliance. So it's not either or. In insurance and all, you got to be compliant. But you made a really good point. Just because you got a tick mark saying we are compliant and the regulators have signed us off, that doesn't necessarily mean you're safe. So you have to have both of them. You sometimes, it's almost like I would say, you might have to have uh, two different groups of people or two individuals given one the safety responsibility, other one the governance and compliance responsibility. Because in an industry like banking and insurance, which is the financial services, I think both of them need to be there. I mean, certain industries not as regulated, maybe you can think, okay, I'm going to focus more on the safety and then take the compliance as a second. But in certain industries like financial services, and I'm guessing, if you think about even like pharmaceuticals and drug and food, FDA, the compliance is very, very important. So you got to do that. So it depends on the industry, which one you got to really this thing. But safety has to be there independent of which industry you're there. Compliance could be depending on whether it's a critical industry or not. So that's how I did. But you said it really well. Safety and compliance, there could be two different things. But sometimes people think, well, I have taken care of one, so other one should be taken care kind of thing, not necessarily.
So, what advice do you have for people? Is there a trick or some way, some tactic that they can implement to kind of get people into that safety, mindset, as you put it, right? How do you get that buy-in if you've got a company where it's like, they're more seeing IT as a cost center and not, as a kind of security partner that's helping protect the company. What are some things that people can do to help get that safety mindset to kind of permeate the company or even to get leadership buy-in?
See, you really touched upon some topic of really very dear to me is leadership by, not just for the safety thing, IT most of the time looked at as a cost center. When they think about IT, some CIOs even today, um, they think IT means you're in the boardroom and your video is not working, audio is not working, then you call the help desk and the guy comes in and goes under the boardroom and connect the cables and all, now we are good. That's what this thing, and I have to really use this opportunity to share a story. 15 years ago, I was at the conference. It's an insurance and technology conference. And those days, there's no AI conference or something. So it was not insuretech, insurance and technology conference. So there was a CEO from an insurance company out of Wisconsin. He was very old fashioned. Probably he was already close to 70 years or something like that. And the title of the session was CIO from CEO perspective. you know. So this was 15 years ago. I was a new CIO. I was like, hey, I'm really curious about what is the CEO's perspective. And then he basically gave an analogy. Insurance company is like a NFL football team. He said you have the premium and the marketing is like the offense. You get the revenue and everything. And you have the claims, it's like the defense and things like that. So far, so good. Then he said you have special teams like loss prevention and accounting, billing, all these things and all. I was still waiting. Where is the technology kind of goes in and all. Then he said technology is the equipment guys, the guys who make sure the helmets are in good shape and the shoes are there and the uniforms are there. I fell off the chair. I'm like, oh my God, this is what they think about technology. It's not the equipment people. So right after that, I was actually coming back from the airport, and then I saw at the airport some shop with NFL caps and all. There was one called NFL equipment. I bought the cap and I have it in my office to remind me I don't want to be the equipment guy,
Yeah.
because so I made sure from that point onwards that leadership buy-in is needed and you cannot be in the cost center. So as a CIO, all the CIOs should take on the responsibility of making sure you meet with your C-level executives on a regular basis, not when you need the money, because they would think, okay, this guy, the IT guy is here, so he's going to ask for money. That's what the perception, cost center. So you have to go and you have to learn to make sure the positive news is also communicated back to the C-level executive. You got to let them know the value that you are bringing to the table. Otherwise, it's only so from a cost center, you got to turn slowly into value creation department or value creation group, security, safety, and then also what initiatives are you doing to help the revenue generation? What initiatives are you doing to be more efficient and reduce the operational expenses? You got to use all these technology initiatives that you're doing and the security initiatives, translate them into business initiatives and make sure this is what's happening, not connecting the cables. So it is up to the CIOs to take it upon themselves, because the bad news spread like a wildfire, but the good news never goes. So you have to make sure you have a regular meetings, steering committee meetings. Steering committee not meetings is not just about what projects we should work on and where the projects are going on, but also talk about if you have an initiative. An example would be you have upgraded network infrastructure recently. If that has prevented some kind of breakdown or some kind of cyber threat, you've got to make sure, hey, do you know that we invested in really kind of implementing this and upgrading the network infrastructure? Because of that, we prevented an outage today, which means we would have lost this much money in sales and revenue, but that didn't happen because we have done that. It is important for the technology team to make sure it's not about bragging, it's awareness. You got to let them know. Otherwise, you're always cost center. And they look at you, you're the equipment guy, just buying the laptops and servers and storage and all these kind of things and all. And you're there just asking for the money. That perception needs to be changed. But nobody's going to change it unless you, as a leader, take that upon yourself. Mindset, safety mindset, and value creation mindset, and message it to the senior executives. That is what needs to be done. That's where the leadership comes into play. We need to change ourselves from a pure tech people to the leadership, and the business need to feel that the tech executives are not sticking out like a sore thumb. We need to be part of the business executive team and not just asking for the seat, but we need to show that we belong there by speaking the business language, whatever industry you are. That is what needs to be done to change the perception.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's perfectly well said. And Rao, this has been an absolute blast. But before we go, can you tell everybody where they can find out more about you and more about DigiTran?
Yeah, so I have a website, digitron.ai. So that's where, but also I'm very popular in the LinkedIn. I have close to 10,000 followers. So LinkedIn is a place they can find me, Rao Tadepalli, and I'm pretty prompt in responding to, DMs and things like that. Just they had reached out to me. I'm passionate about leadership and specifically leadership for the technology people, how they can just kind of move up in the ranks by using technology, and security is obviously is always, and now of late I'm doing AI, not only in insurance, how AI is going to change the systems development. I have actually trademarked a word called nth generation programming, which means this is the end of any programming languages because we are programming in natural language.
Yeah.
So this is going to change the evolution, and that's why I call it revolution. So I'm passionate about those areas and all, and they can reach out to me. And Matthew, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
That was great. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.